Hello everyone and welcome back to Dragalia Foundry, a fan channel where everything Dragalia Lost can be found. In today's video, we're going to check out the preview we got of the next Summon Showcase Dragon Special. This showcase and a Platinum Showcase starts tomorrow, and we'll try to answer the question of whether or not you should summon. If you're only here for that assessment, long story short, I don't think you should summon. You could wait until the 28th, the day that the banner is almost going to end, one day before, and we should have a preview of the next showcase. I think it's likely to be a gala. It could be something else, but regardless of what it is, you'll want to know before you decide whether to pull on this or not, as this showcase does not seem to be one of the strongest ones we've had in a while. I will say that in general, dragons are a quicker gateway to late game power than are adventurers. Lots of lower rarity adventurers work perfectly fine and are strong, so dragons are the type of thing you might want to summon for. It's just that we may get another Gala dragon right around the corner. We don't know. So I want to exercise and advise caution with the showcase. Wait until toward the end. You can make a more informed decision. The day before the 29th, so the 28th, is also when the Halloween showcase will be almost about to expire. And my priority order on these is if you don't have Halloween Lowen, definitely try pick him up on Halloween Fantasia 2 first. And possibly if you don't have Halloween Mim, since she is still a very good backliner for several adventurers. After that, you might want to consider summoning on this Dragon Special, but only after that, and only after you see what's coming next. Let's start by talking about the Platinum. The Platinum, as always, just want to have a quick reminder. These are only some of the 5-star dragons eligible to appear. It's probably going to include all 5-star dragons, and it is a random chance what you get. So be very careful. Don't be naive or mistaken when you go in and purchase this and think you're going to get to pick one of these 3 dragons, or you'll at least get one of the 3. It's most likely going to be all the dragons in the summoning pool, so you probably have less control over what you want to get than you may think. As for the dragons themselves that are featured here, this is one of the better dragon specials we've seen. All of these dragons are powerful, but it's just a question of if they're powerful enough to justify spending sunlight stones or pulling a lot trying to get unbinds on them, because 5-star dragons, they're strong. Nowadays, they're often stronger than max unbound 4 stars, even with 1 or 2 unbinds. In the early parts of the game, 5-star dragons, you typically had to fully unbind or maybe unbind 3 times before they completely surpassed 4-star dragons that were maxed out. Nowadays, these new wave 5-star dragons, 1 or 2 unbinds on them, they might be better than your next best dragon. So the question is whether the unbinding is worth it, since it's pretty expensive, and I think for all of these dragons, there are just better or as good alternatives that might make you want to save your sunlight stones, with the possible exception being Popstar Siren here. So let's get into that very briefly, since this will be a short video. We've already rendered our verdict, but Andromeda is sort of like another 80% Shadow Strength dragon. You get 40% strength on your Shadow characters unconditionally, and you get another 40% if your HP is below 30%, as well as defense plus 100% when your HP is below 30%. So the way that Andromeda works is if you're on a low HP character who wants to stay below 30% HP, you're pretty much guaranteed to be in that 80% strength, 100% defense aura range. That's fantastic when you're able to do it, but not all characters are able to get there and survive. So some of the adventurers that want to be at low HP would include adventurers like Belina, Natalie, and Valentine's Addis, all of whom can put themselves to low HP. Another one who wants to be at low HP but struggles a little bit more to get down to that low HP range is Veronica. Her skill damage on her first skill does go up a lot when she's at low HP, so it's desirable for her, but she doesn't have as quick of a way to get down to low HP. So those are some characters where Andromeda can be quite effective, but you have to remember we're in the Shadow element, and Shadow is pretty stacked when it comes to dragons. So in Shadow you have Fatalis. Fatalis is an unconditional 80% strength dragon for Shadow, obviously a limited time dragon from the Monster Hunter event, but still a really strong dragon, the only real drawback being if you shapeshift, you're going to be cursed for the rest of the match or until you get some effect that overrides the curse. So for players who already have Fatalis, I don't think you need to go out of your way to get Andromeda. Similarly, Shinobi is really strong with the skill damage modifier it provides. Obviously, Shinobi, not the best on everyone. It's not going to be best on strength-oriented characters like Durant or like Linnea, for example, a new adventurer, who really don't care as much about skill damage as they do their strength or their force strike damage, respectively. So Shinobi isn't the be-all, end-all, but even then, if you just have like a Marishiten, another limited dragon, of course, from the Shadow element, 60% strength, that is a really solid dragon if you're doing some solo play, you just want to round out your Shadow team. So depending on how long you've been playing, you probably have a relatively decent selection of Shadow dragons. And even in the worst case, if you just have some Juggernauts and maybe even Silk has a pretty good effect on her dragon transformation. So I don't know that you could really justify going all out for Andromeda just to try get her. If you're a big Aldred stan or something and you want the canon combination with Andromeda, then sure, go for it. If you happen to pull her in the past when you're going for Grace or Belina, she's a great dragon. I'm not saying she's not, but you really want to use her on a low HP character. And in particular, when I think about using her, I think the character she'd be most effective on is Valentine's Addis. One of his weaknesses as a low HP unit is his lower defense being ranged. A lot of the low HP units who can take themselves to low HP have a mechanic called a Divergent Shield. Basically, their skills, when they fall to a low HP, give them like an 80% shield that blocks any attack that does less than 80% of their max HP. One of the problems with Addis with that is since he's ranged, he has only 80% of the defense of melee characters. So he actually might really appreciate this 100% defense because it means that his Divergent Shield could block a lot more attacks and have him survive. So for something like the Mercurial Gauntlet, I actually think Andromeda is a pretty strong dragon. This team-wide defense on her skill is also sort of relevant there, especially if you're in a double buff comp. So I do think that she has some pretty interesting potential, but I don't think she's worth summoning on for her own. She is a strength dragon, so that's a positive. They're improving the selection of dragons on this for sure, trying to make it tempting, and Popstar Siren's definitely the most tempting thing here, so let's talk about her next. Popstar Siren, I want to make this video in part because I don't think people still realize how effective she is. I know a lot of more experienced players might know this, and you see her all the time in Volk's Wrath, for example, but Popstar Siren is right now probably the best dragon to run on most healers in the game. If you're in content that's going to support a healer and they can survive while running her, since outside the light element, they're not going to get any actual aura from her or any effects on their stats other than her base stats. And of course, off element, they won't even be modified by 1.5 times. But if you can survive while running her, her skill is pretty insane for your team DPS. So it actually makes a pretty big difference. Invigorating Harmony increases the entire team's strength and defense by 20% for 20 seconds. It's long lasting and increases their energy level by 3 stages. It's possible to charge this skill's gauge by attacking and use it twice during one shapeshift. So basically you can get this off twice. That's going to be a total of a 40% strength buff, 40% defense buff. Lasts over 20 seconds, obviously, because it takes a little time to charge and you might have buff time on the character, but what I'm trying to say is you'll have some buff for more than 20 seconds, somewhere between 20 and like 45 or something. You'll have some amount of buff because there's going to be some time spent in between charging up the next use of the skill, but for the overlapping period, I'm not sure how long you'll have 40, and you'll basically energize all the characters on your team as well by doing the energy level increase twice. The light strength aura 40%, not irrelevant. Like, let's say you're using this on Chitose or something and he's buffing the rest of your light teammates. Kind of relevant there to have 40% strength, even though he doesn't have a lot of personal damage, but it's something. Or if you're using this on Gala Yuden, for example, it is something. That being said, Popstar Siren is notable for her terrible dragon form. Like, she has an excellent skill, but she does abysmal damage when you're shapeshifted as her. So this exhilaration effect that she has, which increases shapeshift time for the entire team by 3 seconds, actually not that good. And this didn't really survive the chain co-ability changes super well. You can't put this on a backline character and have it work on your main character. And in co-op, it's not going to affect any of the other people in your team either. So you only get this exhilaration effect now if your character that you're bringing to co-op has Popstar Siren equipped. So it's almost like a curse, essentially, to you to have to stay as Popstar Siren sooner. It's pretty common to try to kill her off, essentially, and this is one of the reasons why you might want to keep her at a lower bond level. But you want to kill her off so you can get back to your healing as Halloween Lowen, and that is the unit that uses her most effectively because you're getting those max HP buffs, you have defense and regen on your first skill, you have so much ability to keep the team alive already that you can often afford to run a dragon that doesn't provide any aura bonus to you, meaning there's no flame HP, flame strength at all, and it's still quite effective. So some alternatives are like Arctos. Arctos is also powerful and popular because of the ability to cause stun. Mars, I mean, it's perfectly popular. It's a huge strength aura, and while you're shapeshifted, Lowen holds it as well as anyone. His passives aren't as good as, say, like Flurry Strength while you're a Mars, or, even something like Dragon's Claws transforming into a Mars, but nonetheless, that's also still just a really good dragon, so that could be an option. And also, Bronze Fafnir is notable from the Void Battle Treasure Trade. Bronze Fafnir, of course, being able to provide just a strength buff, but a really sizable one. So there are other options for healers to be able to provide buffs, and for most healers, this is like the best DPS contribution they can have to the team. At least anecdotally, perhaps them running a more aggressive dragon actually could be better. Like, I could see Mars, Lowen maybe being good with skill share. Maybe there's some skills that you can share that provide buffs or something and it's good, I don't know, and you shapeshift enough, it could be okay. But frankly, I think that usually the other three teammates' DPS is going to outweigh his by so far that you just would rather become a Popstar Siren and provide a good amount of buffs to them and let them clean up. So anyway, Popstar Siren, great dragon. I only have one unbind on her, so she is tempting me a little bit here. And then finally, Kona Hanasakia. Kona Hanasakia is the light. Why do I have light on my mind? The flame skill damage dragon. Alright, so she gives you 20% strength to flame adventurers, 90% skill damage to flame adventurers. Of course, skill damage dragons famous for getting a buff, seemingly when they really did not need one, that just really put them over the top of the 60% strength dragons that we were traditionally used to for many characters. So she came out around a time when, I guess, or maybe not exactly this time, but one of the characters I remember thinking about and associating most with her is Ramona, right? A character who has this really long but really powerful first skill. It constitutes a large proportion of her overall damage. Characters nowadays, their skills often represent the big chunk of their damage. Having said that, when you have Mars, right? Mars has a ridiculous amount of flame strength that he provides, some of it conditional, but with an easy-to-meet condition. And when your shapeshift ends as Mars, all your skills are fully charged. Finally, we have a legitimate competitor to these skill damage dragons. And it's not just in the flame element. A lot of the 80% strength dragons can kind of creep up on and compete with the skill damage aura as well, depending on the character. So the Deciduous Dance skill that Kona Hanasakia has is okay. It's going to increase the user's next skill by 40%. Nothing as good as what Shinobi has, energizing the whole team, but it's okay. But basically, Kona Hanasakia does not have a very good dragon transformation. So if you become her as a dragon, you want to try sacrifice her as quickly as you can. I'm not sure, but I don't think that sacrificing her in Master Volk is going to cause Volk to heal up HP. Depending on what you sacrifice her to in Expert Volk, I don't think it will either. Like, I think if you just die off to wolves, Volk won't heal. But I'm not sure. This is something that has questioned me, or that I've questioned. It's a question that's beset my mind for many years. Or, a year, I guess. Half a year. If you have your dragon and you sack it in Volk, does Volk heal off of it? And I know when you're transformed during his life-draining Blood Moon in Master, like, he's not healing off of it. So I have evidence that maybe he doesn't heal off of it. But I had always considered Sakia to be pretty bad in Expert Volk, especially for characters who want to ramp Dragon, because when your damage comes from your Dragon form, it's not very good to only have 20% strength on your basic Dragon auto attacks, right? But if you can sacrifice her at little cost, then I think she does look much better. And another thing to consider with her is that a lot of people may not realize in simulation, when they swap off Gala Mars and put on Kona Hanasakia, a big reason why your character DPS looks worse is you haven't modified the ACL syntax in the custom sim. And so your character is still behaving or using their moves in a way as though they think they have Gala Mars when now they have Kona Hanasakia. And the behavior is going to be totally different. When you're Sakuya, you want to sack your dragon form as quickly as possible. You probably don't want to shapeshift even if you can't sack your dragon form. When you're Mars, you want to shapeshift as a priority, and then when you come out of shapeshift, you get access to all your skills again. So just bear that in mind, that if you're running Sakuya, you don't want to run her in the same way that you're running Mars. You want to be focused on using your skills. You may not want to even transform if you don't have to. And just start to cast your skills on cooldown as much as you can. So she does tend to favor characters who rely upon skill damage. A lot of flame characters are like this, like Marth with Sakuya is perfectly fine. Just don't transform as much as you would otherwise, or transform at all. But anyway, y'all, that is pretty much going to do it for my coverage of these 3 dragons. I think they're all pretty respectable in their own right, and at the same time, I don't think that you should probably pull on this. I feel like we just have to wait and see till the end of the month with the regular galas happening. It could mean more frequently. I've seen a lot of people expecting that we will get galas, and even if we don't, we're coming upon summertime. Maybe there's going to be some other limited banners that we really want, and I have a feeling that players who were not here for last Halloween are already stretched a little thin trying to get the Halloween characters and maybe having summoned on Nadine and Linnea's banner as well. But that is going to do it for this video, everyone. So thank you as always for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.